Welcome, everybody, to our damn live stream. Damn the status quo. The David Advisor movement, aka DAM, is at the core of everything that we're doing at Forefront Advisor Network. You see, we feel that the industry has turned into David versus Goliath, and we're here to empower the indomitable human spirit in all of us and bring champions to share meaningful insights to help you become your dream self, to help you unlock your full potential. Today, we're going to be talking about embracing collaboration to unlock your full potential with the legendary Colleen Bowler. I'm just going to share some of Colleen's stats and information about her. She spent over 25 years building and growing her financial planning firm, Strategic Wealth Partners. Love the name. She went from zero to over $500 million in assets under management. Along the way, she received numerous industry awards, presented at many industry meetings, but her greatest success, she feels, and the impact that she had was the impact that she created in the lives of all the individuals and clients that were under her care. Colleen is a planner, obviously, but she implemented a 3-year succession planning, selling her firm for over $500 million. And Colleen in 2020 founded C&J Innovations with Dr. Gene Herbert, who brings expertise in assessments and surveys. Colleen and Gene combined their expertise to create a unique and powerful female-led firm. I want to make sure we highlight that because it's a beautiful thing. With patents pending and major relationships pending across major broker-dealers, with the goal of empowering financial advisors to create greater impact in their client relationships. In addition, Colleen has served as a coach for Strategic Coach since 2003. She raised a son as a single mom and co-authored a book, Generous Kids. And now all she does is empower people every day of her life. So welcome, Colleen.
Hi, Eric. Okay, there's just one change.
Go for it.
I did not sell the firm for $500 million. I wish I had. Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah, we had put it out there. We had $500 million of assets under management and life insurance, disability, long-term care. We sold it for I sold it for 7+ figures. So that's the only change. That sounds pretty good. Who is that person?
I like plus. Let's just put it there.
Plus. Yeah.
So I want to kind of get right into it because folks are sitting here and going to be listening to us live or listening to the replay.
Okay.
Let's talk about your journey, about how the heck you got into this thing called financial advising in the first place and where you were in your life. And a little bit of the journey in the beginning.
Oh, well, it's a journey that I would hope no one had to go through themselves. I was in the middle of a divorce. I had a sick 3-year-old. The job that I thought I had, the owner, this is just so bizarre. The owner, thought I would move to Chicago because that's where my family was, but I couldn't. And he took the job away because he said, because I didn't have any family, that as a single mom, I wouldn't be able to succeed, which, as somebody who knows both Eric and I would know that would just really piss you off.
That's true.
But I found myself with my son has unfortunately not seen his dad since he was 3. He was sick and I needed a job, and somebody said, "You are really good at math. Why don't you do this thing called financial?" No, I think they just called it insurance right at that point in time. But no, they did call it financial planning because I went and worked with Mutual of New York. I made $14,000 the first year. I qualified for earned income credit. I made 18,000 the second year. Once again, qualified for earned income credit. And the third year I broke through, I doubled my income and made $39,000 the third year. So, like I said, I would not wish that kind of start on anyone. But it taught me a lot about tenacity. It taught me a lot. Eric and I, we've talked about women in this business, and I believe it is a fabulous business for women. And we need to embrace and champion that more. I believe when I started in 91, there were 15% of advisors that were women. I think there are 18% now. So we've not come very far. And I believe with the flexibility, I was able to take my son to school and read in the library and pick him up and then put him to bed and then go to work. And, I had a lot more flexibility that way. So I think it's a great industry for business and not an easy business to start on your own. Yeah, I think it is really wise. I tell people now, learn on other people's money. If you can get in and get a job working for an advisor, be a paraplanner, work in an organization, however you can learn, I think that is a fabulous way now. I think there's a lot more of those opportunities. We talked about the title being collaboration over competition. When I started and even when I left, competition is such a big thing in the industry. But there are a lot of people like Eric and Forefront who are at the front of collaboration. And I think that's key.
Why do you think, and I'm just curious, why do you think that more women haven't come into the industry, and kind of what are some of the barriers now for them, just from how the business is structured and just from your viewpoint?
I think women, what the studies show that women want to know what they're doing. I mean, studies will show that men will just go and do it. Like they'll ask for a raise before they feel ready for it. Women will hold back and wait until they're more than ready for it. And I'm not dishing on men. I'm just saying that
these are the facts.
These are the facts. And I think we as an industry need to embrace it and help educate and train and build confidence in women to be out there and do it. I mean, I had a guy tell me that I should go home and be a mom, that I shouldn't be working. Now, that was 25 years ago, but the starting on your own, that's a hard thing for a woman. I think it's a hard thing for a guy too. I just think there are so many opportunities out there to collaborate within firms that we don't have to do it on our own anymore.
Yeah. So you started out in the industry. You came into an insurance company. What was that training like, or how did you get clients? I mean, I think that tends to be a lot of challenges that newer advisors, either they're overwhelmed by the enormity of things that they don't know, and they don't know how to consistently get in front of people. We used to call it cheeks in the seat. Well, now in the technology age, how do I get somebody to come to my Zoom meeting?
Yeah, we called it belly to belly, but same thing. When I started, there was this thing called the one card system, and that was writing down everybody that you knew and everybody that they knew, and then getting in front of them. I do believe that activity is key. I also believe that when I was in year 2 in the business, I was going to see somebody that was investing their $2,000 IRA, and I knew the owner of the business, that the business was worth about $10 million. And I decided I would try to get his business by myself. I mean, like, really?
I love that. It's bold. It's tenacious.
Bold, tenacious, and stupid.
Yeah, it is.
But that man taught me something. I was going up in the elevator with him, and he was carrying in Diet Coke. And I knew how much the business was worth, and I knew there was a machine in the lunchroom that had sodas and everything. And I looked at him and I said, "What? Why are you bringing in your own Diet Coke?" And he very flatly said to me, "Colleen, you can have what you want. You just can't have everything you want." And I have to say, it pissed me off in the beginning. And about 6 months later, I saw him again and thanked him for that. And he said, "The reality is, you need to make your vision and your choice of what you really want. If you want your son to go to school," he knew I was a single mom, "then you don't buy $400 pairs of shoes. You get to make choices. You can have what you want. You've just got to figure out what it is you want. And I'm not going to spend 50 cents on a Coke when I can spend 10. I mean, that's a big difference, right?" So it's things like that that you learn along the way that make a huge difference in how you go about business. So I was just trying to get anybody and everybody. Today, what I would say is, if I met that person and I was 2 years in the industry, I would say, "I would love our team to come and meet with you." And I would bring in advisors that knew a lot more than me, and I would learn. I would split cases or do joint work or however that is. I think the industry now is so good, and there's such an opportunity there for that.
So you're in the business. You have this experience with this gentleman that gives you, I call it a word nugget. It's something that you like marinate on, and then you're like, it clicks for you. You like, you don't appreciate what somebody says until later. So you got that. So you're at this juncture. You're working at the insurance company. You're growing. At what point did you embrace collaboration, and then what were the results that you started seeing for yourself?
Probably the end of the second year. The end of this second year in the business, I went to Lincoln Financial because I believed, where I was at money, I wanted to do real financial planning. And where I was, the answer to everything that anybody needed was life insurance. And I knew that that didn't make a lot of sense, even though I was young in the business. And so I had been doing some disability insurance, and I had been doing some life insurance, and I had become real knowledgeable in disability. And I went over to Lincoln, which is weird. After 2 years of business, I was their disability specialist, a part-time gig, but it gave me some baseline income. And then it was there that I started doing joint work with advisors to learn, to grow, to be able to reach bigger and bigger clients. So I would say year 3 under that umbrella, it was just a very big possibility for me. And the other thing is, when we're around others who are doing really well, I always say, if I can make it, anybody can make it, right? It is that you can see somebody else do it. And when you can see, it's like the 4-minute mile. Once it was broken, all of a sudden it was broken many times.
Yep.
So once we can see that possibility, it makes it real.
I love that. Thank you. The most powerful thing you said about was collaborating and being able to sit in and learn, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most underutilized tools, because what happens is, when you sit in on those meetings with another advisor who's successful as you view it, right? They have the confidence, they have the knowledge, they have the communication and the presentation skills. You get to observe. You're sitting in the room watching, and it totally demystifies things, because in our minds, when you start out, you don't you don't feel confident inside, so you don't communicate confidently, and so that comes through to the client, and the client can sense it, and so they say no. Well, then you sit in the room with the pro and you collaborate through this joint work, et cetera, and you watch them, and you say, you know what, I could do that. And then you say to yourself, well, I might do it a little bit differently, and you infuse your own style. So I think
Right.
that's a very astute point. So you started collaborating, you started watching, and then what happened to your confidence and your competence as you started doing this collaboration?
Obviously it would increase, right? Year 5, I started doing my CFP, and as a single parent, I talk about all the time I spent at Chuck E. Cheese and McDonald's while my kid played in the ball so I could study. I do think Adam Holt, and I have this, if y'all haven't listened to any of Forefront's podcasts, live streams, go to their YouTube channel and listen. I listened to Adam Holtz. Actually, I was making dinner and I listened to his, and he said, little moments add up to an outcome. It happens all of a sudden over a long period of time, right? We do these things over and over. It becomes habit. And those habits, like education, where all of a sudden you're learning, and all of a sudden you know the answer. And I know this may not be the most comfortable thing for people to say, but one of the things I have learned has incredible power is the statement, I have no idea, but I sure can find the people who know the answer to that question. Because you have to put your ego aside that you should know everything. This industry is so complicated, and especially as you get further and further along in your career, being able to say, I don't know, not bluff your way through it like I was taught to do, but to be able to say, I have no idea, but it's a great question, we're going to get an answer for you, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm now approaching my second decade in the game, and when you just start, you everything is tied into knowing, right? Especially if you're somebody who values like you want to be an expert. You're supposed to be the expert, right? When you sit in front of these folks, and not positioning yourself as bigger than yourself, even if you work for an organization. I want all the advisors who are listening right now, pay attention to what we are about to say. This is a note-taking moment for you. If you're listening, stop the guard, the light, whatever it is that you're doing. You have a team. You just may not know it already. If you work at a large financial company, there are teams of people that can help you, whether it's investment company that you work with, whether it's an insurance company that you work with, whether there's financial planning people internally that you work with. You have a team. And what Colleen has just shared with you is you do not have to know everything. The more I know, the more I realize I don't know. Yep. 2 decades later, I still learn something every single day about people, planning, investments, tax. Some nuance comes. I'm sure you can relate to it, Colleen.
Yeah. And Eric, I think that visualization, when you talk about team, that's where that word collaboration comes with me. Collaboration and partnership, those teams include CPAs. I have great friends that are CPAs that I've gotten to know over the years in the industry that I can call with a question that a client has that they may or may not end up doing business, but we're there to give to each other. So I consider them my team. I consider estate attorneys and other corporate attorneys team members. I consider an HR person at a business where we put in a 403B or 401k. I mean, I hope after this conversation, everybody has a huge insight about what team and what collaboration really looks like. And the biggest person that I believe we all need to be in collaboration, or we call it partnership with, is with our clients. And while I may not be the smartest person in the room on estate planning or insurance or all of those different things, what I'm really good at is partnering with my client to find out where it is they want to go in their future and who can I bring in to help them get there. That's what I believe our key is finding out what is most important to them in their future and how can I help them? How can I help them?
I love that. I think partnership, right? Our clients are indeed our partners in everything that we do. And I think one things advisors don't do enough is engage with their clients in a sense of mutual helping with one another. That's what partnership means. Partnership means I have your back, you have my back. We're in this thing together. So I think what you said succinctly was you were an advocate for your clients and helping them get what they wanted to get out of their life, whether it was you directly helping them get it or the team that you had built around you that had all the resources to be able to make their life better and to help them get what they wanted out of their lives. I love that.
And if any of us have been in this business for a long time, we've known that go for full circle, that disability policy that actually gets used, the life insurance that gets used, those foundational things that, investments are great, but they don't pay the bills if somebody dies next year and they just started their career, right? I had this is a good one for anybody that is new or middle in the business. I had a really good coach, and I think all of us, to have coaches and be a coach, no matter where we are in the business, we can have coaches and we can be a coach. And her name was Mary Seaback. And it did happen to be in the second year at Money. So it was an insurance firm where everybody was trying to sell permanent insurance. And she pulled me aside and she said, Colleen, the most important thing in this industry is to take care of the need first. Take care of the need first. Make sure the need is taken care of. What is it that if something happens? And then she said the little second thing, and she says, and term insurance converts. The need, when somebody is young in their careers, they need a lot of life insurance because if something happens to them, their spouse, their family, their kids, there's a big need there. So 3 million, 5 million of insurance, depending upon what their income is. Taking care of the need first is really important. And then all of us who've been around it long enough know term insurance converts. So when they become more affluent, then you can do that. But it was through that I'll tell a story, interesting and sad. So as a single parent, having people around, family and friends, is key to having a career like I did. And I had a couple, Doug and Liffy, who took care of my son Addison once a week so I could go to work or I could have a night off, one of the two. And Mary Seabeck in my brain, pay attention that everyone around you that you love and care about has life insurance, and investments are cool, but having those basic needs met. And I'll just get to the point. I made sure that happened. And in his early 40s, Doug passed away. And I'm godson to one of their children. How would have I felt if I hadn't made sure that they were taken care of? And in the past, that big life insurance, that permanent insurance would have been the answer. But with Mary Seaback coaching me to take care of the need first, that family was taken care of. So it is so important for all of us for all the people around us that we love and care about, take care of the need first.
I love that. I love that. So you're now at Lincoln. You're starting to collaborate.
Mhm.
At what point did like how did those first collaborations look like, and then how did you essentially come to create the larger team of strategic wealth partners?
I think collaboration, partnership became really key for me when I joined Strategic Coach.
Okay.
And that is all about how do we create value in others' futures. As you know, it is 3 years after I started, I became one of their coaches, and I still am 20 years later. So when you find something that works for you, go do it, and go do it for a long time. Um, but their conversation is always about how are you creating value in someone else's future? And so in the back of my mind, that was always there whenever I was meeting with anyone. And I didn't want to become an expert in investments. I didn't want to become an expert in estate planning. I mean, I'm really good at those things, but I didn't love them. What I loved was helping people figure out what was it that they wanted in their future. I have a good friend, Tim Johnson, chief investment strategist at Lincoln, who said, our job is to get them all the way home. And I always added in, and my job is to figure out what that home wants, what they want that to look like.
I like that. You take them all the way home.
Right.
So you
I would find other advisors. I have a good friend still, Diana Parker, who was a genius in estate planning, a genius in estate planning and insurance. And she loved that piece. She didn't love them figuring out what their home is. She loved that piece. And then my friend Tim Johnson, he loved the investment piece. And then other advisors, we would do joint work. I would bring them in because they love those pieces. And I could kind of act as quarterback.
I love that. And then so you started collaborating, you built this team. How did that help you take your practice to the next level? Like what was the experience? How did that help you move up market to bigger clients? This collaboration.
When you don't have to know it all, you can use the resources and the education and the learning of others to build it faster. And so by doing joint work, we were able to really expand the business because myself and my team didn't have to do it all. We had other advisors, and I gladly gave up. I know there's an MDRT split and there's all kinds of different ideas on how to split, but I basically split 50%, and they did the part of the insurance, they did the part of the investments, we did the part of taking care of the client for large scale clients. I'm not talking minor clients, but large scale.
When you say large scale, what are we talking about for those folks on the call? Are we talking $5 to $20 million clients? Anything above $1 million? What?
5 to 40 million.
Okay.
Not that we didn't do